Retrofin filed a $65 million lawsuit against you, claiming breach of duty, loyalty to the, to
It's
the
funny.
company.
They ended up paying me.
There was a dispute over company funds.
Yes.
There was accusations of stock trading irregularities and other violations.
It's funny how that works. They ended up paying me $9 million.
Because then you actually started becoming under criminal investigation.
Yeah, they caused that to happen.
Because of that lawsuit.
No, so what ends up happening in corporate America these days, which is fascinating, if you're a big company like Google, this happened to a friend of mine at Google. Mm-hmm. He worked at Google. He worked for Waymo, which is Google's like self-driving thing.
Yeah.
He left and went to Uber.
Oh, yeah, I know this guy. I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Google picked up the phone. They called a law firm like Latham Watkins. I'm not picking Latham, great firm. Or Robeson Gray or Kramer Levin. Pick your big law firm, right? And they said, hey, we want to report a crime. Now, why don't you call the police or the FBI or something like that? You don't, because at these big law firms, almost everyone at those firms, the partners, and I know this because I've paid every law firm in New York City, these law firms are staffed with people who were prosecutors.
Ah,
so
okay.
What they do is they say, oh, let's say you're a partner at one of these big law firms, and a guy from Google calls, and you say, well, you don't even have to look. You know Google's your biggest client. They may be paying the firm 10, 20 million. Some of that's your salary. and the guy's calling and said, hey, John, you've been my lawyer for 8 years. You've been representing Google great. We just got ripped off by this guy. I need you to call the prosecutors that you used to work with. And you got to go indict this guy. Mm. And this poor guy, Andrew's name, he got indicted. And the pretext was that he stole trade secrets.
Well, right. If you can get a criminal judgment, that automatically will give you a civil judgment because there's a higher level of, it's harder to prosecute someone criminally than civilly.
Much harder.
So if you have a criminal indictment in the bag,
civil is easy.
Civil just becomes a cakewalk.
Yeah, it's a throwaway. Yeah,
exactly. Okay,
but it's so vindictive to do this because the entire revolving door of the federal AUSA office, there's the U.S. attorneys of about 100 districts in America. They all have AUSAs, assistant U.S. attorneys that work for these U.S. attorneys, and they file these cases. Every single one of these assholes, and I think they're assholes, wants a job at a big law firm. Why? Because it's a 5x salary. That's why. And if you prosecute Martin Shkreli, it's a 10x salary. So you go from being this pissant kind of lawyer out of law school, and all these guys are like 30 years old. Then you end up at a firm like a Debevoise or something like that, a Cooley, and you're a partner now. And your job is to satisfy your client. And if your client wants this guy indicted, and that's what's going to satisfy them, you do it.
Okay, because then you got arrested for securities fraud.
Yep.
And you get released on a $5 million bond. So basically what the U.S. attorney, Robert Caper, said that Shkreli essentially ran his company like a Ponzi scheme where he used each subsequent company to pay off defrauded investors from the prior company.
Yeah, 100% bullshit.
But now you're arrested. Now you got the $5 million to pay bail.
They just said it whatever you can afford.
Right, and you had it.
Well, they said it whatever you can afford. They literally asked you, what can you post?
And you said $5 million?
Yeah.
So you paid $5 million.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, that was roughly, what I could, afford to not screw up all my finances.
Okay. How did it feel to be arrested, though?
It was surprising, but not that surprising. I'd become a public enemy, and I think that law kind of works in this reverse way, where a prosecutor will pick up a newspaper.
It's reactive.
And say, this is a bad guy, we need to get him.
Right.
Same reason Bill Cosby got arrested 20 years after the allegation.
Yeah.
And which I think he was now just on appeal acquitted of. Same thing with Harvey. I'm not a sexual predator, thank God. But
Harvey, they reversed the ruling, but there's going to be a retrial. So it's a mess, yeah.
All of these guys were basically, this guy's a bad guy in the news. We got to go indict him. We got to go find a crime. And I think there's a guy running for president that this has happened to as well. So what we've learned is that this idea of lawfare is preposterous. I was indicted over financial crimes, which had no victim. I beat 5 of the charges, as you know, Vlad, which I'm so proud of and still fucking thrilled about. Any prosecutor is listening, we beat your ass in court. And I was just ecstatic about it because you're never supposed to win.
Okay, well, because was it right around this time that you headed up an investor group that bought the majority stake in KaloBios.
Yeah, just before I got arrested, literally days before.
Right. KaloBios Pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
You were named the CEO,
Correct.
but then after you get arrested, you get fired as CEO.
Well, you got to go. You got to go fight your case.
Right. And then the company filed for bankruptcy.
Yeah, I mean, the feds lost more people money than I did. I never lost anyone a dime, but they caused so much chaos that every one of these investors was mad at them.
What happened? Now, you had an E-Trade account where you had $41 million in assets?
I don't remember. It was a lot.
Okay, but this was after the stock had plummeted.
It was such a crazy time. I mean, I think the damage done by the government, like I said, was way worse than any alleged damage, which, by the way, I still maintain my innocence on those 3 counts I lost. But again, you're not supposed to win a single count, Vlad. You're not even supposed to go to trial.